Roblox BedWars is a massive game with thousands of players. So today, I'm going to be going over the top 12 worst types of BedWars players and what to do if you encounter them. Nightmare players are some of the most hated types of players. Now if you don't know what Nightmare is, it's basically the highest rank you can get and only the best of players have this. These players are usually overly toxic and constantly flex their Nightmare emote. These players usually have thousands of playtime hours and pretty much live to play this game. They often spam easy in the chat and use their Nightmare emote after killing you. When encountering them, it's best to understand that these players put their entire life into the game and it's not worth it to stoop to their level. Now keep in mind, these types of players will only get worse, with number 1 being by far the worst, so you don't want to miss it. Macroing, also known as auto-clicking, is generally hated by the community. Trying to PvP a macro user as a legit player is a guaranteed loss. This issue has spread like wildfire, and pretty much all competitive players macro. This gives the people who play on anything other than PC a massive disadvantage, and it's a really big issue in the community. These players will get insane combos which can be very annoying to a legit player. When encountering these players, it's best to understand that these players are forced to macro due to the majority of skilled players doing it. It's best to just blame the developers for not fixing the issue. Tryhard, a word that has been used in practically every match of BedWars ever. Players will often use it when someone kills them or has a really high CPS, usually being mad at the other player. To be honest, this word is meaningless. It's such a silly word that gets used so much. It's like what? It's a video game. Why wouldn't you try? Also, I don't get why people make it an excuse. Like, is tryhard really all you can come up with? Tanqr made this popular in the community, along with the word sweat, which is practically the same thing. Just don't use this word. Bow spammers are players that abuse the insane damage and range of the bows/crossbows to get a massive advantage against their opponent. These players are massively hated due to how broken the bows are at the moment. Bow spammers were at one point the most hated types of players due to how overpowered the tactical crossbow used to be, and they're still extremely hated by the community, especially in Skywars. This has honestly been a big problem ever since the game's release, and people get mad at the other players rather than the developers for allowing it in the game. Toxics are what have ruined this community. Toxics are players that will insult other players after beating them, saying easy and L in the chat. These players are massively hated by the community because they bring down the mood and just bring an overall negative setting. Players will often try to be toxic back, feeding into their toxicity. When encountering them, it's best to ignore these types of players and realize that they have no form of parental figure. This is true for any PvP game, however players just can't accept being worse than others, and it just creates an extremely toxic environment. Closet cheaters are players that pretend to be legit but are actually using hacks to give them a massive advantage. These players will often have suspiciously high reach and swing rates. These players are very common in ranked and solos and unfortunately rarely get banned. They are very hated in the community and make up a lot of the ranked player base. When encountering these players, it's best to just report them and call them out for it. The last thing they want is someone to know they're cheating, and they will often try to deny it. It's best to say you have recording evidence even if you don't. Hackers aren't really the smartest of people and you can usually scare them with fake threats. Closet cheaters will almost always hack on their main accounts, so them getting banned would be a huge deal to them. Hackers are super common in this game. Most of them use the vape exploit, which allows them to fly, have auto break beds, and a massive range buff. These players are by far the most hated players in the community because they ruin win streaks, ranks, and player experience. It's not fun to play against hackers, but the best thing to do when you encounter them is to just simply report them and don't give them the attention they want. Hackers usually want reactions, so by not giving it to them, they won't be as entertained. Anyways, if you want to help out a small creator, feel free to subscribe, but I'm not here to force you. Thank you for watching.